I'm here in El Salvador adopting Bitcoin with my acquaintance Ioni Appelberg. I followed you on Twitter for a while, watched your videos and everything, and I know about your book coming out here. And so, anyway, I'm a fan of your work and all that. So, I just love to hear your thoughts about this. Is this your first time in El Salvador?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. El Salvador is, first of all, an incredibly beautiful country. Like, I had high expectations, but they've all been met. And the people are so friendly. And what I really enjoy, what surprised me the most, look, is that when you come to an ascending country, like you would expect the infrastructure to be quite poor and so on, but this has proven to be an income level 4 country, which I did not know. Income levels is a concept that I cover in my book. And the thing is, like compared to a place like the U.S., where they have a lot of bureaucracy and they have a lot of inefficiency, here the infrastructure is not as developed, but they make it work because they are cool people. They just want to help. They have that mentality, and it works out so well. And just have a look at this conference. It's incredibly well organized. People are having a good time. There are no empty rooms. Yeah, so I'm having a blast.
I agree with that. I'm pleasantly surprised just how good the roads are, at least the ones I've been on,
Yeah.
and just in general the infrastructure. Obviously, it's a developing nation, but at the
Sure.
same time, it's like I think of the U.S. and like how much more money we have, and I'm like, it's incredible. Like it's much better than many American cities I've been to.
Sure. When I talk about infrastructure, I'm not only talking about roads.
Yeah,
I'm talking
buildings.
about monetary systems. I'm talking about bureaucracy, about the social layers of society as well. Like all of this is fairly. It's still developing here, but for some reason it still works better than places like the U.S. that have had 100 years to get their systems and infrastructure developed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very impressed by this country. I'm very impressed by the people. And also just the fact that this was an income level 3 country just a few years back, and that they had the problems with criminality and all. And they managed to turn that around. El Salvador is a model for other countries to follow. Yeah, they're not only adopting Bitcoin, they're not only getting rid of criminality, they are building a country bottom up, and it's one of the future nations. It's just it's incredibly impressive what they have accomplished here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And I like your point about how it's not just about Bitcoin, but it's about everything else going on here, everything else going on in society, because I think, to me, that's why I'm so passionate about Bitcoin, because it's not about the numbers themselves, and it's not about that. It's about what that can buy. It's about the prosperity, the quality of life, the length of life, the time. That's what it's about, right? And that's why Bitcoin's so exciting to me, because it incentivizes increased productivity, increased everything. And so I don't think it's any coincidence that we're seeing Bitcoin adoption here simultaneously with all these other things together. And then just in general, the culture here feels much more work-oriented than in the States, which obviously that's largely because incomes here are 10 times or more lower. But at the same time, they're proud of their work, at least from the ones I've talked to thus far. So, and that goes to your book, Abundance Through Scarcity here.
Abundance Through Scarcity.
Okay, give us a summary of that. How is it that scarce numbers on magic internet money can create abundance?
Yeah. So first of all, this book is about the importance of Bitcoin for the future of human civilization. It is written like a science fiction book, but it is of course rooted in reality, in physics and monetary history and a ton of other topics. But it's a lot of cosmic wonderment as well. So what I want to do primarily is not only give you high resolution image of the future now that we have Bitcoin, but also to inspire people to be optimistic about the future. Because if you turn on the news, it's very difficult to be optimistic. There's a lot of nihilism and pessimism in the world today. If you scroll on any social media platform where young people hang out, you're going to see that they're almost paralyzed by distraught. They're distraught because there's so much to be pessimistic about, and they're worried about skyrocketing inflation. They're worried about climate change. They're worried about wars and pandemics. And I want to bring a more optimistic point of view to the conversation to foster a more positive outlook on life, because we have every reason to be optimistic and positive about the future because we have these technologies coming, Bitcoin being one of them. I've said this many times before, but I am a Bitcoiner not because I'm a Bitcoiner. I'm a Bitcoiner because I'm a futurist. I'm equally interested in quantum computers, fusion power, psychedelics is a topic I'm incredibly passionate about, and of course biotech and genetic engineering as a medical doctor. And there are these technologies that are going to reshape society as we know it and power the advancements of human uh, or power human advancement in the coming century. So in this book, what I go over is the fact that you're saying that the title "Abundance Through Scarcity," by realigning incentives, monetary incentives, that is what Bitcoin is about. Having a hard monetary standard is something that we have not had for a long time. We could argue that it ended in 1971, but we haven't had hard money for a long time.
Yeah, thousands of years. And
Yeah,
by
exactly.
hard,
Thousands.
by hard, you're referring to that hard cap, right?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think a lot of people think hard, they think of something physical, analog. But when you're referring to hard, you're referring to that scarcity. We've never had something with that hard cap scarcity.
Exactly. So what Bitcoin is the discovery of absolute mathematical scarcity. And I consider that to be a discovery of a new fundamental property of the universe that has not been known before. Because now we have something that is absolutely scarce, and it can be argued that we have nothing else like that, except for possibly matter, which is also energy, or matter in the universe. That might be the only other thing that is absolutely scarce.
What
in
about
the
time?
Time? No, we don't know that the universe is finite in time. We don't know that it's finite in space or time. We don't know that, and human time can be argued to be finite. But that is the thing about these coming centuries, decades and centuries. Now, as a medical doctor, I am very passionate about a topic that is called longevity. And longevity is going to be the next major paradigm in modern medicine. What we're doing now is that we're treating our illnesses symptomatically. We are playing a game of medical whack-a-mole. We are reactive. So we come from the first medical paradigm when we were hunter-gatherers or farmers and industrialists, where the four biggest killers were trauma, infection, childbirth, and starvation. We cured these
Yes.
by becoming rich and by discovering antibiotics. So that paved the way to the second paradigm in modern medicine.
Where we are now.
Where we are now. So now we have four new big killers, and those are cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and neurodegenerative disease. And these diseases cannot be cured with our current technology, with our current medical paradigm. We have to enter an entirely new kind of paradigm, which is treating age-related illnesses at the root cause, which means that we have to actually target age itself. So we can imagine a future where we have the technology to become an ageless species, and we're already working on those technologies. It's going to be very, very incremental and organ specific at the start. But when these technologies mature, and we have matured the third paradigm of modern medicine, all bets are off. All bets are off, and I think it's given that the next iteration of Homo sapiens is not going to evolve through natural selection, but it's going to be something that we create. We are creating the next species of humans, and it's going to be through genetic engineering. It's going to be through transhumanism. It's going to be through advanced robotics and AI, and we're going to digitize as much of ourselves as we possibly can. And we're also going to decentralize what it means to be a human being, and by uploading parts of ourselves to the digital medium and so on. So all bets are off for the coming centuries, what it's going to mean to be a human. And it's not given that our time is limited on Earth. So no, Bitcoin and matter are the only things that are absolutely fixed, scarce in society, in the universe. And we can't be entirely sure about matter. So Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with the Bitcoin sentiment. I don't think you've seen my thread, but I made a thread early. Well, it was the first thread I made on Twitter, now X, about how we have less in common with the future than the past.
Right.
And it's very much in line with this idea. You know, that's one of the things they talked about in that thread about how the ways in which we live, the ways in which we're born, and the ways in which we die is more different today than it was in the past. Like the examples that you gave just a moment ago. You know, and the way, you know, we're filming this right now. Like, we've never been able to have a conversation transcend time like this.
Yep.
We've never had people all around the world be able to have this conversation. And, you know, like, people all around this conference are from across the world. So in every facet, the people we talk to, the methods in which we talk to them, and the ways we think, I think, is changing faster and faster and faster. And, you know, there's a lot, I don't know where it goes, and, you know, I have mixed feelings about that, but, you know, it's something that I think is really critical to think about, because these are the moral questions, these are the pressing questions, I think, that are going to get thrown upon us faster and faster and faster. And, you know, people like you, people hopefully like me, and many of the others here, or people watching, I hope, are thinking about these questions, because the moral implications and the lines we're crossing, I think, will just approach us faster and faster. So anyway, very, very interesting. So Bitcoin is at ultimate scarcity. What do you think is the best way to articulate the value of that scarcity to people, you know, that may not understand the implications of it, that maybe haven't gotten to that futuristic mindset yet? How do you even articulate that to them? Do you give a super high fiat price target, or you just say infinity divided by 21 million, or how do you even try to communicate that future world to this current ancient world? Bitcoin is incredible, and it's incredibly important, which is why it means a lot that you're watching this video and you're taking the time. I do this because I believe it is a really, really important innovation that we've discovered a way to not have a single point of failure at global base layer money. See, fiat money, political currency units, and gold, all other forms of money up to this point in history have had a single point of failure. This has been the largest monetary problem in human history for the last 4,000 years. And now we have Bitcoin, and Bitcoin solves that single point of failure problem. And now, therefore, we have a new single point of failure problem, and that is, how do we custody and store that Bitcoin properly for the long term in a safe and secure way that brings peace of mind? That's why I work at the Bitcoin Advisor. If you were to be hit by a bus, does your spouse, do your kids, do your loved ones and beneficiaries know how to access your Bitcoin? Do you have a proper self-custody storage method to where there is no single point of failure? Not from yourself, not from your seed device, not from where your seed phrase is stored. Have you considered these questions? Have you gotten your UTXOs managed? Do you have jurisdictional arbitrage? Have you considered all the trust, taxes, and estate planning requirements that are associated with becoming a high net worth person? Because if you are buying Bitcoin right now, you are going to become a high net worth person. Are you prepared for the amount of Bitcoin you have to skyrocket in value 2x, 5x, 10x, or 100x eventually? That's the time horizon you should have. And so you need to be preparing today for that future. How are you going to custody your Bitcoin? How are you going to leave that Bitcoin for your future generations? Because after all, that's what we do this for, right? You're buying Bitcoin for your kids. You're buying it for your grandkids. So I highly recommend you start thinking in those long-term time periods now, because companies are coming, charities are coming, high net worth individuals are coming, and all of them are going to realize that having an allocation to a multi-sig collateral custody vault is going to be something that is of serious consideration for them. So once you understand Bitcoin is a beautiful innovation for not having a single point of failure at the base layer currency, now you have to start seriously considering, how do I have my custody stored where there is no single point of failure? Okay, if you want to learn more about that, please click the link in the description. I have dozens of pages of free educational content for you and videos. I'm happy to help in that free way. And then if you want individual help, I'm also happy to help you join the Bitcoin Advisor, where you can be an ongoing client. You can become one of my clients, and I'd be happy to help you in the years to come to make sure your Bitcoin's protected, to where no matter what, no matter if thieves or scammers or spammers or yourself or your family member or whoever, no matter whether it's due to theft or loss, misallocation, misplacement, or just other mistakes, I'm happy to help you and be that voice of reason in the coming years ahead. So click the link in the description. I'd be happy to help. Check it out. Thanks. Communicate that future world to this current ancient world.
What we have to do is address the person that asks the question. We have to meet them where they are. So if that is an Amish person, we can't talk about cryptography or absolute mathematical scarcity. What we have to tell them is that the currency that you're currently using, if you tuck it under the mattress, the purchasing power of that is going to diminish over time.
Yeah.
There are better technologies to store the the fruits of your labor across time, because they would understand that concept. They would understand the concept of saving in a technology that does not, where the purchasing power diminishes over time. They would be able to understand that. They would be able to understand storing it in a different medium, like gold, for example. And they would be able to understand that gold can be confiscated and that it's difficult to and expensive to store and ship. So I think that we could orange pill the Amish by talking about it as a savings technology.
Yeah.
And I think that would apply to a lot of different people. For others, if you go to, say, a random New Yorker, I would absolutely talk uh, about big numbers, just big numbers. Throw as many big numbers at them as you possibly can.
10 million, right?
Yes, exactly. Like I would talk about infinity divided by 21 million.
Yeah.
That is how I would address someone someone who's living in the Western world in today and who had a normal participation in society. Because it is an incredibly fascinating meme that encapsulates so much of what Bitcoin is.
Yeah.
A few people know this, but I actually designed that meme, the infinity over 21 million. Few people know that. So there's that, and I think that memes in general are an incredibly powerful way of communicating ideas. Like with everything, we have to start at a level that is very easy to understand if we want to orange pill someone. So one of my missions is to orange pill, or rather to provide tools for people to orange pill their friends. And that is why I have my YouTube channel, where I break down complex topics and make them very accessible and easily digestible. Whether that's proof of work or the more philosophical aspects of Bitcoin. Yeah. So it comes down to who you are trying to orange pill. You have to meet them where they are.
I fully agree with that.
Yeah.
You know, some people they're still thinking of Bitcoin in terms of fiat, and
Yeah.
so I always
Yeah.
talk about, you know, $1 million, $100 million, whatever, you know,
Right.
some high number, to then Trojan horse orange pill, realize, oh, well, there's no nominal top for Bitcoin in terms of this garbage numerical system because it's a flawed, you know, so sometimes you got to meet people there. Other times it's, you know, so I'm a Christian, I work with a lot of missionaries, and so for them, it's about how do we send money to our missionaries in foreign countries, right? So that's their pain point. Other people, you know, it's the freedom aspect, or, you know, so I fully agree with you that we have to
Yeah.
meet people where they are. So.
Yeah. 100%.
So yeah, I appreciate your work. I appreciate you putting out the critical thought. Besides Bitcoin, what, and I know we mentioned longevity before, so perhaps that's your answer here, but what do you think is the most pressing moral dilemma or question that is going to arise from technology that you think people should really be thinking about? Is it this transhumanism concept? Is it something? Is it longevity? Like what do you think is the next big technological wave coming down the line that you think people are not prepared to consider or accept, or consider the trade-offs pro or con for?
We're right now entering what is called the fourth industrial revolution. We have undergone 3 industrial revolutions before in our past. And each industrial revolution has brought with it paradigm shifting technologies that have reshaped society as we know it. The first industrial revolution was characterized by the emergence of the steam engine and mechanization and so on.
The Iron Horse.
Exactly. And exactly, trains. And the second one was characterized by the electrification of society. The third one, which is our era, is characterized by going from analog technologies to digital technologies. And now we're entering the fourth one, and it is characterized by quite a few new technologies. The ones that are still in their nascent phase are fusion power and quantum computers. These are 2 technologies that people need to start learning about because they are going to fundamentally change society. Besides that, I think there are a lot of concepts in modern medicine, like genetic engineering and CRISPR and longevity medicine that is going to change modern medicine. Which
Nanotech,
is nanotech, nanorobots. It's going to be part of longevity medicine. That is going to be one aspect of it. And of course, artificial intelligence, people are already aware of that, but that is also something that could be incredibly powerful and incredibly problematic. It is still unknown what this technology is that we have unleashed.
Yeah.
We don't know what this is. We don't know what this is going to become.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and also what I think is very, very crucial is that we change not just public opinion, but the opinions of our leaders on psychedelics.
Yeah.
Because psychedelics are also part of the fourth industrial revolution, and you may ask yourself, why would psychedelics be part of the fourth industrial revolution?
I would ask myself that, yeah.
Yeah, and the reason is because we cannot ignore the social layers that come with a new industrial revolution. For example, in the previous ones that we've had the emergence of social unions, labor unions, and we've had the emergence of ideas about sustainability and these things that have come with the industrial revolution, and they have reshaped how we think about how we work and how we live. And psychedelics could be the engine to a global spiritual awakening, and that is something that we are absolutely ready for and that we desperately need. We weren't ready for the first renaissance in the 1960s, but now we are. Now we are ready for psychedelics, and we also need them in modern medicine for end-of-life care, for psychiatry. They would cure some of our most pressing medical issues that we face today, from addiction to PTSD, depression, anxiety, OCD, and so on. And the fact that we have prohibited these substances is not, the government did not prohibit these substances because they care about you. They prohibited them not because we're gonna jump out of the window from the third floor. That is not why they prohibited these substances. They prohibited these substances because they are incredibly transformative. So they were prohibited in the 1960s and 70s because young men did not want to go to Vietnam and fight for their government anymore, and people started to organize society differently when they saw that we were maybe heading down the wrong path.
The path that they didn't want.
The path of society, the way that we are organizing themselves. So they started to organize themselves differently, and this was a direct threat against existing power structures. And we need to democratize these substances because they are the key to a world that is more harmonious, that is more in tune with nature and cosmos. Because what we all desperately lack is connection. We lack connection with ourselves, with each other, with nature and the cosmos. It is to the point that a lot of us Westerners don't even know what connection is. And when you go to a shaman in the South American forest, the jungle, and they look at us, they see a disease. In the same sense that we would look at a person who has lost their ability to remember, or their ability to see. They see a disease in us that we have lost. We have lost the ability to connect. And that is a crucial thing because the lack of connection is incredibly damaging to the human psyche. It leads to depression, it leads to addiction. So the reason we have skyrocketing addiction in the Western world, for example, is because we lack connection. So
with our fellow man, and I would argue with our future self too, because there's less and less monetary hope on a monetary system that's degrading. Yeah. So not only are we losing that connection with each other, but we're losing that connection with our future self.
Yeah, exactly. So what you're referring to now is that money is a mental operating system that determines our time preference. So language is a mental operating system that determines how we see the world, how we perceive the world, and money is another monetary system that determines how deep into the future we can see and understand.
That's great. Yeah. I love it. You know, I love my talk I'm going to make in like 30 minutes here on the stage is about Bitcoin aligning incentives. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah.
And you know, that's a huge part of why I make these videos and why I love talking to people like you know, at these conferences and, you know, dinners or whatever, is because I think, like you're saying, so many of these technologies are coming. I think they're coming so fast, and I think that we're not ready for those implications, both the upside and the beautiful benefits, and needing to reorient ourselves with this worldview change. You know, so many people here, so many of the Bitcoiners like you're saying, are upgrading their mindset to a new monetary operating system and viewing the world different ways. So I think there's so much fertile ground, let's say, for new thoughts, new pursuits of truth, and I do think there are probably downsides too, and I don't know what those are, and that's a gray area of the future that I hope to learn more about personally and think about more. So I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your work, and I love hearing different perspectives, and hope that you and everyone else out there continues to think about these technologies, because I think they're only going to become more and more abundant. So hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Wow.